All right, well, Kenny, welcome to the podcast, man. I appreciate you taking the time. Stoked to talk to you about all your projects. How you doing today? Of
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me, man. Like I
course.
was saying, I'm in sunny California for a week, having a great time.
Yeah, we had a little pre-show banter talking about California. Miss it. Great place, great weather. Yeah, man. So the thing that I like to start off with on this podcast is your personal heavy metal history. So those bands and records that you remember kind of getting that got you into the genre and kind of like where you're at over the years to where you are now.
Well, I mean, my first musical hero was actually Elton John, and
Oh,
I
hell
guess
yeah.
I was about five, right? Yellow Brick Road came out and whatever, and I had that record, and it was a phenomenal record. So actually, I backtracked to the Beatles, 'cause Elton John turned me into the Beatles, obviously.
Hmm.
And I was sort of like this kid that I like Johnny Cash. My father had left a couple of bits of his record collection when he left. Well, my dad left home when I was three. He just
Okay.
left him records, and one was a Johnny Cash live at San Quentin. So I was a huge Johnny Cash fan. But those two records were very important. And then I didn't really discover the heavier stuff until Kiss Alive 1 came out. And
Oh
Rock
yeah.
and Roll All Night was on the radio. I used to listen to WPLJ. And that song made the radio. And I was like, well, I like this fucking song. And I believed all the hype about Kiss. Oh, they throw up on stage and they're assholes or whatever. So, and then I made friends with my friend Sean Quinn, go back years and years, and Tommy, and I met him in fifth grade, something like that. He was like, well, what music do you like? So, I told him Elton John and this and that. And he was like, you don't like Kiss? I said, no, those guys throw up on stage and stuff. And I was like,
The
I really like
shock
this new
value.
song I heard on the radio called Rock and Roll All Night. He goes, it's Kiss, idiot. And that's how I discovered Kiss and Kiss Alive. And, you know, over the top rock and roll, heavy metal leads and guitar and Ace Frehley. That was a very important record for me. And then like my friends Tommy and Sean, their father left home when they were three too. So he
Uh-huh.
left a big record collection. And they had a great record collection. They had like every Kiss album up to that point. But they also had Black Sabbath. They had the first Black Sabbath record. And all the old Jimi Hendrix albums and T-Rex. And I just got this huge, rock and roll, heavy metal, early 70s, late 60s education. And then
Yep.
Zeppelin, of course, as well. But I remember hearing Black Sabbath, the song Black Sabbath, the first time in their bedroom. I had this awesome bedroom. Their mother let them do whatever the hell they wanted, man. They had like there was like knives thrown in the wall, and there was, Alice Cooper posters on stage with them hanging, and like there was shit thrown all over the place. Records melted on the radiator. It was amazing. I used to love going to their house, and every day I would go up there, would discover something new. And I remember first hearing the first three notes of Black Sabbath, and it was like, whoa! And it just summed up every horror movie I was ever addicted to up to that point in my life.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah, it's
was a,
got a
a
good
very important
ambiance,
album.
man.
Yeah, it's another very important album. I mean, there's such importance to so many of them. And of course, Zeppelin 4, Zeppelin 2, um, Queen News of the World. That was the first record I ever bought with my own money.
Oh man, I love Queen. I think Brian May is like an incredible guitarist, the way he plays, like his phrasing and
Fucking,
everything.
there's no one sounds like, it's Brian May instantly.
Yep.
You know, yeah. I mean, I'm very lucky to have grown up and become music conscious in the 70s because
Yeah.
everybody was great in the 70s, man. You look at Midnight Special and everyone's playing live and it's fucking perfect. They're all great. They're great. Everyone was a great. You had to be a great player then
Yeah.
because the bar, the level of the bar was just it was up here musically and musically. You had
Yeah.
it, or you had to meet it or do better, or you were out of there. So we got the best of the best. Artists, creativity, and players, and you know,
Yeah, I think a lot of those guys had it harder because there wasn't that advantage of technology that we have nowadays, like YouTube and stuff. They had to actually like learn from people, take time doing it, and then like on top of that, just the experimentation that was going on at that time is just insane.
You have to have talent.
Yeah.
Not only total devotion, which you always have to have, whether you have mediocre talent or not, but you had to have talent. And you're walking in the studio, and then if you really wanted a chance to get a record deal, it's going to be $500,000 to make a record. So we got $500,000 on the line, or $1 million, or $2 million, and you better be able to do this fucking part right now, or you out of there.
Yeah.
You know, drummers were replaced like crazy on recordings, like through the '80s and all that, for that reason. So you had to be good. You had to be good. And it just, I feel like I'm not going to say there's still great musicians, first of all.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But you're right. A lot of it's pieced together. It's done a million times. It's directed by Pro Tools, and it's not the same. The
Yeah,
level
there's
of bands and being tight and the writing and all that was just higher back then.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I agree also with what you're saying is like, that's not to say there are not incredible musicians around today. It's just the levels, it's kind of changed with the times, as everything
Mhm.
does.
Yeah, and the live bands were really live back then, and they were great. Now you go to concerts and like half of them are using Ableton pitch correction live and all this crazy shit. Tracks,
Yeah.
playing tracks, and I mean it's not a big deal if you're gonna play the tracks. Like with my band Silverton, there's some songs that have like literally 30 tracks going on
Mm.
the record, and you can't pull it off otherwise. And I'll have my keyboardist juice trigger a couple of sounds, and it will play along to them. That's fine, you know what I mean? Or if
Yeah.
I got like 6-part harmony, and you need the other harmonies filled in, you are still singing for real, but with the other harmonies about, and that's whatever. That's fine. It's cool, but to actually be miming on stage is like I know like Taylor Swift mimes. I
Yeah,
mean,
I've
it's to
I've
me,
seen a
it's
few
like,
bands that have like fully done that and I'm like, what do you like why are you even doing this right now? Like what's the point?
dude,
You're
it's like going to
touring.
watch a bunch of like Disney characters. Like,
Yeah. This will be kind of a good segue to talk about the new music, but like I witnessed a band that was actually on tour with Crowbar doing this. Like they were one of the opening bands, and their whole set was just played to a backing track. Like they were sitting there, like the breakdown would play, and then the guitar player like wasn't even touching his guitar, and
are you
it's like,
serious?
what the fuck
Are you
is going
sure?
on
You're
right
sure,
now?
right?
Yeah, this was probably like 8 or 9 years ago. It was a while ago.
Oh, okay, all right.
Um, but yeah, this is the first time I witnessed it too, and I was like, is this band playing to like a full backing track? Like, this is insane
Ableton,
to
you're
me.
using Ableton Live.
Yeah. And then, Crowbar goes
Yeah,
on and like crushes it with the real shit, and it's just
and
like,
they're the
how the
real
fuck did they
thing.
end up
They're
touring?
just
Yeah.
great. Period. That's because Kirk grew up the same time period that I did.
Yeah. With Sun Don't Shine, like obviously you've worked with Kirk in Kingdom of Sorrow a little bit, so how did this group come together?
This group actually came together through a mutual friend of ours, Andrew Spalding, he was actually I met him when I was playing for Danzig. I did a Blackest of the Black with Danzig sometime like in 2008 or 9, 10, something like that.
Okay.
And he was Danzig's merch guy.
Okay.
And I was a huge drinker back then, and he was too. And that's where we bonded. I mean, I first met him. We were staying at the La Park Hotel, and I saw him at the bar. I was like, "Hey, what's up? Want a drink? I got a bottle of vodka in my room." That's how we met. And then, he was also from New Orleans, and we became really fast buddies. And I took him along with Typo, and he was Typo's merch guy. He toured with us
Nice.
the whole last, final years of Typo. And he had a similar experience with Windstein because he was from New Orleans and used to run into Windstein in bars and stuff. And he became fast friends with Windstein, drinking friends. So really, it was his brainchild. He was like, I always wondered what it would be like. Because you guys are two of my favorite guitar players, and he's a heavy duty guitar player. I would love to see what it would sound like if we put you both in a room, and got you together to do
Yeah.
something. So, fast forward to whatever 2 years ago, I'm sober 6 years, and he's sober too. He got sober right after me,
Wow. That's
and
incredible.
got his shit together. And he was like, "I want to make this happen. Can I get you guys to record a song for me? I got the money to back it, and I'll fly you in." We brought Johnny in, and Kirk booked Todd Strange in, and he was like, "Yeah, all right, I got." So we booked this like flights. We were all doing nothing at some point, and it was like flights to Florida
Hmm.
to record at this place called the Moat House, and one rehearsal, right, and then up to Gainesville to record. And we're like, "All right, sure, he's got it booked. Whatever. It's 2 day, 3 days. It's fun. Let's see what happens." And that's how the first song came about. I had like when I called Kirk, I was like, "I got this part." And I played him part. Oh, cool part. I said, whatever you can think of, spin off that part. And we met in, I mean, I was kind of nervous about it. It was like, oh my God, this could be embarrassing or this could be really good or who knows what's going to happen. You know what I mean? You never know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And we brought the parts down to a rehearsal studio. I think we rehearsed it for 3, 4 hours with the guys and, had basic outline of a song. And then, boom, next day into the recording studio and 2 days in the recording studio, the song was done. We left. Our heads were spinning. It went so fast.
Wow.
But it went really good. We had a lot of great energy between each other. The song came out great. It got a great feedback. So we only ever decided to do that one song. We were only intentionally going to do that one song. But we got such good feedback and it was such a good vibe that we decided to do a few more. At first an EP and then it turned into a full record.
Yeah, with everybody kind of spread out like that, like what is your guys' like writing process to get these songs done?
Isn't that how everybody does it now? There's
Yeah.
like no bands that are from the
I can see that.
same neighborhood anymore, like Liverpool or
Yeah.
Brooklyn. You know what I mean? It's it worked all out in all different ways.
Hmm.
Like this second time we went down, like the second batch of songs we wrote and recorded, we did an OCD recording with Dwayne Simmer, um, which is a place where Crowbar records now. Gown did their last mix there.
Yeah.
Dwayne's a great guy, a great engineer, and great producer. Vinny LaBella too, co-producers. So we just went down there, and I was like, I had like again, I got like 3,000 surplus or more parts saved in my phone.
I was
In
curious
my.
about that. Like,
I mean, that's what
gotta
I do.
be amazing.
Anytime I have an idea, I'm always trying to think. And I'll put it down real quick. Either I'll
Yeah.
verbally put something down, or I'll just play with my acoustic or whatever it is. So, and then there's so much. I very rarely go through it, but if I really need something, or when it's time to write, I'll just start going through stuff. I'm like, oh, this is shit. This is crap. This makes no sense. Oh, this is good. So every 10 parts, every 10 ideas is one that's workable. So that's what I did. Like the second time, I was like, all right, I got this idea, this idea. And we went down and me and Windstein, we rented out the studio for like 2 weeks. It was like a week and a half, or 2 weeks, something like that.
Okay.
And we'd meet like at 10 in the morning, me and Windstein. Johnny was off, playing with Quiet Riot. And he would come, I'll be there after the weekend, whatever. And me and Windstein would get together and just throw our cool ideas and throw our parts together. And like get some kind of like structure. And then Johnny would come down and help us arrange the rest. And it was a process. Like within 2 weeks, we had 3, 4 songs recorded or almost
Nice.
recorded. And then, I would go home and in my studio, sort of arrange and rearrange and lay a lot of my vocals and all my vocal ideas and stuff like that. Because there wasn't enough time to develop everything there.
Right.
Like I could finish maybe one song solid there. The other three, I had to go home and really like develop. And then send those tracks to Dwayne, and then Dwayne would go in and add his tracks. It was done like that, piecemeal. But we had Johnny's drums the whole time. The
Oh,
outline of
cool.
Johnny's drums. So it's kind of a weird way to write, but it worked. And then the last time we went down, I had like I said, well, let me really. This is the last 3 songs we're gonna make because we decided to make an LP out of it. And I was like, let me really get some solid ideas down. I don't want to go down there and like throw the dice again.
Yeah.
Which is stressful doing it. So I wrote 3 songs, not 3 songs, but 3 songs with a verse, chorus, verse, chorus, verse, chorus, verse, you know what I mean?
Okay.
And one, I think, had an intro, right? Which was malleable. It could be changed if necessary. And then I sent them to the guys. And, when somebody, oh, I love these. I can already hear the next parts. And that's how we did it. I went down and which sense that he shoots right from the hip, right from the gut. So
Uh-huh.
he was like, oh, what we need, a fast part here? Okay, let me go. It comes up with the part, right there, you know what I mean? I'm a little slower with my writing. I'm a little more, I don't know what you call more cautious or whatever. He's very instinctive and extremely talented. So yeah, he blasted out the second half of the song, like the bridge, outro, leads, and then all the secondary parts. I call them secondary guitar lines. He calls them sweeties. It's like anything is going on, extra, like in the second verse, like you come in with a tinkle part or whatever, or some bend or something. So I call them sweeties now too. And then, that's how we developed it. And then sometimes, like some of the tracks I had at home, maybe a few of the tracks or guitar lines, or maybe some of the vocals I had at home that I had did, it sounded good enough. It sounded great, and I didn't want to change them, so we used them. And then a lot of the stuff, we sat down with me, Vinny, Windstein, and Dwayne, and just hammered it out, part for part, lead for lead. All right, we need a lead for this, and just develop it right there right there in the control room.
Yeah,
Stuff came out fantastic. It came out fantastic considering, and it has this, I want to say, organic feel to it because it was done organically.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that with the leads. You and Kirk both have like pretty distinct styles of leads. So do you guys like trade off on like playing and writing?
We
those
are
parts?
trading off. Yeah, they're all trading off, and then like we'll trade off. I'll do one, and he does the other, and then we'll come and do a harmony lead to finish it off.
Nice.
Like old Judas freestyle. And that's the most fun I had. That's the most fun we had. I mean, that's the most fun thing about the whole thing that I've had with it. It's having fun. Because yeah, Kirk sings, blah blah blah, like Kirk says though, but he feels completely confident with his guitar playing. And for me, my first expression is through my guitar too. So that's the easiest way for me to express. Singing is difficult. It's a hard rock singing is a hard task. So it takes a lot of discipline. It takes a lot of energy, and it takes a lot of patience.
I was kind of surprised by the sound of everything. Like I going into it, you have preconceived notions. I definitely thought it would be a lot heavier than it was. But man, the melodic aspect of everything was like, like I just didn't expect it. And I was like, damn, this actually fits insanely well when you think about both your guys' guitar playing style and then your vocals on top of it. It just like, it works so incredibly well. And I just wasn't expecting that. So it was a nice surprise for me personally.
Well, that's what we wanted to do. We want to, everybody says, when you picture me and him get together, it's going to sound like this super heavy dirge, Black Sabbath, or the Typo meets Crowbar. And we kind of wanted to smash that.
Yeah.
And as an artist, you always want to surprise you. Or you want to do something different. You want to keep repeating yourself and regurgitating the same shit over. Although, inevitably that happens once in a while. But the most recent one is Power to Live. It's coming out Wednesday.
Okay. I have not heard that one yet.
All right. So that's super heavy. Right. That's really heavy and dark. So the last three songs I wrote got a little more on the heavier and dark side. So I think you're going to find on the record a good mix of everything. You're going to have that melodic stuff, you're touching stuff like Beatlesque, and then also the Sabbath and the heavy stuff. So really, we got a lot of elements going.
Yeah, I like that though. I mean, like I said, I had a preconceived notion, and I should have like stopped myself from that. Just knowing that like you brought up the exact point. It was like, why would we want to do the same thing over and over? And it's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Like, I should have known better.
But that's the natural instinct. You always think that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got a little bit of a
two iconic bands. It's going to sound just like a combination of both of them. Which there is that in there. It's in there.
Yeah. Even knowing like the stuff you did with Silvertune, that wasn't like quite as heavy as I was expecting either. It's still like your vocals have such a good melodic presence to them that like,
thank you.
Playing off of that with the guitars, it should have made more sense in my head, but I guess I just kind of like,
Well, my thing is this: I don't want to hear barking. Anyone can bark and scream. Nobody did it like Sabbath. If you listen to Sabotage and all those records, it was not only heavy and super dark, but it was melodic vocally. There was always a melodic vocal line, something catchy. So, yeah, be heavy and dark, but I want to hear a melody.
Yeah.
So it's never been my style of bark. So I mean, it's cool in certain instances, but
yeah, I guess
it's not my thing. Can you see me barking?
No. No,
You know.
nope, not at all.
So we're gonna have to find a melody. I'm gonna have to find a melody that's dark and not, something to go with it.
So I guess I'm curious about this now. As far as like the extreme parts of metal and heavy metal, that's just something you've never like really gravitated towards, like
Oh
in
no,
in like listening.
I like super heavy extreme shit. I mean, I'm a huge Slayer fan.
Oh yeah,
I can still listen to Slayer every day. So yeah, no, I am. I love heaviness, dude.
yeah.
I live for it. I love heavy tuned down guitars, thick guitars. Absolutely. But I also like it not to be just that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it's a perfect thing I was gonna ask this. What are you guys like tuned in for this project? Are you just like dropping a
Oh,
little
that's a
bit
loaded
or
question, man. That's
is
a
it?
loaded
Okay.
question. Every song has a different tuning.
Oh,
I
that's
drove the guys a
sick.
little crazy. I did drive them a little nuts. Yeah, there's an open tuning, like slide tuning. Some of them in B, some of them in D standard, some of them are in D drop. The first song was in C sharp or C.
Oh hell yeah.
Um, and I think yeah, 440. One of them is even in 440. So it's kind of nuts. But I think that
That's cool.
to pull it off live with two guitars and two tunings, all we have to do is transpose some of the songs. It'll work with that. We don't
Yeah.
have to have a different tune guitar for every song. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be that. I mean, you know what? I've seen that, man. I've seen guys bring like six, seven guitars on tour, and like
It's
everyone's in a
brutal.
different tuning. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
that's
insane.
brutal. So I think we can combine it and like use a drop D for a lot of the stuff. Then you can cover a lot of the D standard drop down stuff. You just have to play it differently. You have to forget how to play it. And then the C stuff you can actually play in B. You just have to move it. You have to transpose it up.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so you do B tuning and a drop D. I think would cover just about all of it.
That's not bad. At least you guys have that worked out. Like thinking about like playing it live as opposed to like what's on the
Well, I didn't work
record
it
too.
out yet. This is in my head, but I can see. I
Oh,
know
okay, okay.
mathematically it work out, but we haven't like sat down and actually did it. But we could do it. It definitely could be
Yeah.
done. With some rehearsal. And then
So as
also
far as
I have this great box that does it's a harmony
mhm,
box. What the fuck is it called again? It's great though. It does some harmony because we did a lot of layered harmonies on this stuff, like five
yeah,
part. And we're not gonna be able to pull that off live. So like it's two part me and Windstein the only singer. So I have this pedal that can hit that has the other three harmonies. It sounds amazing.
I'm curious when you guys are writing harmonies. What is that sound you're? I know this is kind of like a odd question, but like, what's that sound you're kind of looking for with the harmonies? Because it's such a delicate balance. I feel like with some songs.
When I'm looking for harmonies, I'm looking for non-parallel. Right if it's parallel once in a while, but parallel is kind of boring. You know,
Yeah,
Something is counterpointing it, and the reason for me for harmonies would be to bring the chorus or whatever it is to another level, especially for repeating a line. You do the second line, yeah, some harmonies, it adds another whole new dimension.
yeah,
And to keep it within either mixolydian or within minor natural, so that it's dark and it doesn't sound happy.
yeah.
So those elements right there, and adding as much in before it just becomes overload. That's how I look at it. Now, I always, how the song presents itself. It says it needs something. Okay.
Yeah.
But of course, sounds really good here, but it sounds like it needs, something the second time it comes around, or it needs to come to another level. And sometimes it's a good guitar line, but a lot of times it's a vocal harmony.
So as far as the lyrical content on everything, who takes is that you writing all the lyrics or does Kirk write some? Do you guys
We
trade
wrote
off?
some lyrics, a few lyrics. This next one's coming up. Well, yeah, and I wrote most of the lyrics. Most of the
Okay.
lyrics. Yeah.
What's your kind of like inspiration for writing? Do you personal,
Personal,
metaphorical?
yeah, mostly personal. Sometimes world, like
Yeah.
this next one, Power to Live is about, it's like this is my first anti-war song. It's just about how embarrassing it is that we haven't evolved past the point of blowing each other up. Yeah.
It's insane,
So
man.
sometimes it's a world view, but or it's somebody either inspired by somebody I can't stand or somebody I love. And it's usually about most of it about like existential experience, through my existential experience, with life. Especially I'm
Yep.
getting older now. I can't write about dyeing my hair black anymore. It's like John Lennon said, "When I'm going to be 60 years old and singing, I want to hold your hand."
Yeah. No, definitely don't want that. Yeah, it's this is I'm kind of getting older too, man, and I've been like thinking the same thing. Like I'll be thinking a lot more in depth about life and death and everything, and it's just like kind of like I don't know, it's so jarring sometimes to be so focused on things like that when you have to like live your life and you're thinking about like, well, what if I die? Or like, all this stuff that's going on in the world, like affecting me and people I know. And it can be crushing sometimes.
Yeah, what happens is the older you get, the more loss you deal with. So the more people die that are close to you, the more it's shoved in your face. You can't avoid it. So, and then you get to my age, and it's like you get a lot. You have a pass of a lot of that you've experienced. And there's also legacy you're worried about, especially if you're an artist or whatever. So,
Can I ask you like a bit of a personal question? After Pete died,
right.
how did that kind of affect you and like the way you looked at your life, in that grieving process, with like your health and how you wanted to live? Like, what did you kind of take from that going forward?
it was a very, it was, tectonic movement in my life. It changed my whole life. He died, and I didn't know he was my buddy and my friend, but I also lost a way of life and a career. I mean, my identity was based on typo for 30 years, was everything I put my energies into. So I did not face it healthily. I didn't quit drinking. I drank, I started getting heavier with that, and I tried to maintain it for years, but, sooner or later, it took me out drinking. I had to stop.
Yeah.
But I had a very hard time adjusting for a long, 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 long time. I didn't want to play music. I didn't want to do anything. I couldn't
Yeah.
do anything. Couldn't
That's,
bring myself to do anything.
but I mean, you said you've been sober for 6 years now, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
six
that's
years,
great,
January
man.
20th,
Man,
6 years.
congrats.
And my life is awesome. It's amazing now. Life is positive. I should have did this 20 years ago. Hindsight.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's hard, man. Like moving on from grief it's enveloping,
Well,
it's
the drinking wasn't from the grief. The drinking was from I've been a drunk from I've been drinking my whole life.
Oh, gotcha.
It just didn't go. I didn't say, "Oh, I better get my act together when Peter died." Let me quit drinking. No, I didn't. I hung on to it for a lot longer than that. So yeah,
It's good to be in that next stage then, of your life where you've like kind of learned from all the mistakes, that's that's where I'm hoping to get pretty soon is like learning from all that and growing a little more.
yes, yes. You need to. It depends, on the personality you are. I mean,
Yeah.
if you're excessive, I was always excessive. I'm an extremist, and so was Peter. Most of my friends were,
Yeah.
but you can only maintain that before you get chronically ill, and kill yourself. So you got to make a decision sooner or later. You got to either stop or die.
Yeah,
I chose life.
yeah. Yeah, I know that's a little bit of a personal question, but I was, it's kind of like
No,
thinking
and
about
it's well
this
known.
and
It's well documented.
yeah.
I've done a lot of interviews, and it's nothing I'm hiding. It's nothing I'm
Right.
ashamed of. Yeah, I fucked up, but everyone fucks up.
Yeah, and I think, owning that is part of that process too of like moving on, being like, "Hey man, I made a mistake. Everybody does."
It's
I
it's
you
part of
move
being
on.
human. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I've learned that drinking like that is just another distortion. You're doing it because something distorted who you really were supposed to be. That's how I look at it. And we all have these series of distortions put in us from traumas when we were younger. Shit that went wrong. Whatever happened to you that's bad distorted who you really were supposed to be. Made you insecure or whatever, you know, turned inward, only be able to come outward through substances or whatever, or maybe the substances are killing pains. These are all distortions, and I learned that really evolving in life and getting older, what is really important about is to identify those distortions, what really is not you and is really fucking you up, that you've taken on as a distortion, and identifying it and getting rid of it. That's the hard part.
Man, that's a
You know,
really,
so
I've
it's
never
the
heard that.
underlining
That's
distortions that led to the drinking. You know, you're
yeah,
gonna drink if you don't get rid of, you don't identify it and address them. You know?
that's an awesome way of looking at that. I've never like kind of taken that time to. You give me a little bit of therapy there.
Well, you know, if I had to do it by hitting the wall really hard, you know,
Yeah,
literally, you know, and ending up in fucking rehab at 53, you know, with friggin' 70-year-old morons, you know, and detox, you know, what the fuck am I doing here? You know,
yeah,
so you assess yourself, you know, sooner or later you got to, or if you don't, you self-destruct, right?
yeah. And you can't do that forever, man. It's
No,
not
I
a
mean,
good
some
way.
people do until they die. That's they kill them. That's, you know, another form of suicide.
Yeah. So getting back to this you got a new record, right? Is that's what we were kind of talking
I
about? You
got two
guys
new
wrote
records, but yeah, I mean, we got a
two.
new record
Oh,
coming out. It's dropping. This is for Sun Don't Shine.
okay.
It's called From Birth to Death, and it's dropping April 1st. And
Okay, cool.
we also have a new single coming out this Wednesday, the 18th.
As far as like releasing, I'm curious how you feel about this. Are you guys like I don't know if you keep up with this, like release stuff, but a lot of bands will drop like almost half the album in singles before the full record even comes out. Are you
Yeah,
guys
so we
doing
did.
that?
Yeah,
Okay, okay.
we dropped more than half the record at this point. I mean, with us, it was not all planned. I mean, we're in a band with guys that are in other bands, and they got a million. I
Right.
mean, Kirk's got Down's got a million things going on. So
Yeah.
yeah, you're doing all this music for 2 years, where we had nothing else to do but release singles because we couldn't get together and play live or release the record, and we didn't have enough time to like sit down and write a whole record and make a whole record, concisely and quickly. But yeah, that's the way to do it now, and it's the way to do it now because it's the way to keep the attention of the fans, and not lose them because it's all about listeners, right?
Yeah.
As soon as you stop releasing music, your listeners drop. So it's a way to maintain your listeners. So maybe every 3 months or whatever, you release a single. You release the whole record. That's it. The record's out, and then it's over. In 3 months, you got to tour, to keep it going. But it's a way to prolong listeners on the platforms. And that's how it is. It's like we've turned back into this environment of singles, like it was
I know.
in the '60s, and then in the '70s it was LPs, right? And then it turned back
Yeah.
into singles in the '80s. Then it went back to LPs in the '90s, and now we're kind of back, to where because I mean, we're competing for their attention with so much other media, video games and YouTube and all this other crap. So in order to keep in their consciousness, you gotta always be releasing something and doing something.
Yeah, it's crazy to me. Like I grew up listening to like full albums, and so now the
Yeah.
way like we're talking about the way things are, it's like, well, damn, I've already heard half the thing. But now, I will still go and listen to the full album to
Mhm.
get the context of everything. But it's weird how many people I talk to, they're like, oh yeah, I just like listen to like two or three songs off this, and that's it. I'm like, what?
That's
You
all
don't
people,
experience
most
the
people.
whole album? You're missing
Yeah,
out, man.
Well, music is like my whole life, so I'm going to listen to the whole record. Most people,
Yeah.
it's some pastime they're doing, going from the train to their job or whatever. So they don't look at it the same way. And I don't mind the environment the way it is because this is one thing I like about it. Yeah, we released 5 singles or whatever, but we got to do a video for every single. What a
Oh,
cool,
hell yeah.
maybe sometimes with a concept or something like that, which you didn't get when you only had 3 singles. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. You get like sort of a visual, if they're good, a visual idea of the record too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's something that I hear occasionally too, is that like music videos are dead, but like there's so many bands that still do them. Like I don't
No, you
believe
need
that at
visual.
all.
No way. YouTube is like the biggest platform for
Yeah.
music. So that's not true at all anymore. You need a visual now, even if it's, words, just whatever.
Yeah.
But YouTube is, I think they're the highest the way people are getting their music, besides Spotify. But YouTube's huge. So I mean, all I watch is YouTube.
Yeah, and I mean, even
So you need
Spotify is
visual.
letting bands put music videos on there now too, which is crazy.
They have to relent,
Yeah.
because this kids want to see that. They want the visual as well.
Yeah, I don't know, man. We both kind of grew up with that, that medium as
Mm-hmm.
well. Like, you know, were you guys ever on Headbangers Ball? I know I used to watch it, but I don't know that I
Typo?
caught every episode.
Typo.
Yeah.
That's what made, literally made for the Ted Banger's Ball. You'll still catch us. You'll still catch Block and Moore on Hey Banger's Ball. Whatever the oldies, whatever.
That's crazy.
But yeah, that really, that and opening up for Motley Crue in 1995 there was so much
Okay.
for. And Headbangers Ball and Beavis and Butthead.
Yeah, I
Beavis and
remember Beavis and
Butthead
Butthead.
really exploded.
Yeah.
Yeah. When they give you the thumbs up, that meant you had a career. If they did this, it was over.
Over.
Cartoon determined your career in the mid 90s. Crazy. But
Yeah, I
yeah,
was
yeah,
way, way too young to be watching that show, but I did anyways.
yeah. We got the thumbs up. So did Pantera. And we ended up touring with Pantera, which is one of the greatest times of my life.
Damn.
But yes, all that stuff. Headbangers Books. That was the only platform like really like underground or dark music would be played back then.
Yeah, I used
Yeah.
to watch it a lot, but couldn't catch every single episode, so it was hard to like see
Mhm.
everything that was on there. But it was a staple of my growing up, that's for sure.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah. Yeah, so I would be remiss if I didn't ask about this because this is a history podcast.
Hmm.
October Rust is celebrating a 30th anniversary, man. I mean,
Oh, is
came out
it?
in
Oh, geez.
96.
Why'd you have to tell me that? 30 years ago.
It's
Everything's
crazy,
becoming
right?
30 years ago. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So I was just wondering if I could, get some anecdotes or stories from around that time of the making of that record. It's more what I'm interested in is like the making of the record as opposed to like everything else around it. But, uh, yeah, anything you'd love to share about that record being 30 years old now?
That record was right at like we had just come off of selling going platinum with Bloody Kisses or getting close to it. So there was a lot of expectations from the record company. They wanted us to sell like 9 million records or something like that. We were crazy.
Jesus.
And it was made pretty much very rapidly between we toured for like 18 months for Bloody Kisses. And
Damn.
it was really like head spinning. I remember Peter and Josh mixing the record while we were out touring for it, like on the road.
Wow.
So it was that time in your life where everything was going very, 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 very quickly in our careers. But and I just remember that there was a lot of pressure. Up until that point, everything was fun and games. You didn't have a career
Sure.
to worry about or anything like that. You were out, drinking beer every night, playing music with your friends, and everything was great. Yeah, great time. Oh, opening for Motley Crue. Oh, opening for Pantera. Oh, it was fantastic. And then suddenly we became established and we had something to lose. So I mean, there was a lot of pressure around that time. I probably should have had a better time with it, but if I could go back in time and do that. But at the time, people think like, oh, it's easy being in a rock band. Oh, you really just play your guitar and go out there. But being in an actual professional band, that's has something to lose and has a lot of pressure on it to match its last work is a lot of pressure. I knew
Yeah, I
it
was gonna
being
say like having an album that sold so well and then like all those expectations like going
and it
into this next
didn't.
Record.
That was what you call a sleeper record in a way. Like
Yeah.
it ended up eventually selling well, but it didn't like right off people because then Peter and Josh took a big chance and they changed the sound.
It
That
is,
sounds very very different from the first
yeah.
three records, and which is always a risk, especially when you're new, you know, and takes people a long time to consume that, and to take it in. So it wasn't like right off the bat huge, so it was kind of a disappointment to us. We thought it was.
Oh wow,
when it was
really?
released. You know,
So I saw that it sold 500,000 records, but it has to in the year since, like it's hit a million, right? It has to have.
I think it has in the years since. Yeah, I think it has. But you
That's
know, at the time, it was looked as if, like a failure by the record company. They wanted 9 million records sold. You know?
that's crazy, man.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
but I
you know,
mean,
for a band like us, that's not possible. We're a weird band, you know.
yeah. But I mean, even
But
then,
it's a
like
great
metal
work of art.
bands,
I think it's a
yeah,
great work of art and stands still. And it's just one of those things. I mean, the same thing happened to Zeppelin, you know, when they
right.
put out Zeppelin 3. We're like, what is this acoustics? Everyone freaked out. Now everyone loves the records, you know, because they took chances every time they put out a record Zeppelin. They did so many different things, you know, which is not only a risk, but, you know, it takes people longer to for that kind of stuff to sink in, something new to sink in, you know, and to accept.
Yeah, I mean, I think the mood of the record, most people would agree, is like it's become like this fall winter record for everybody, it just captures that
Mhm.
mood of those seasons, I don't know if you feel the same way, but that's what a lot of people I know, that's how we feel about that record. It's just like, oh yeah, it's like
I have biased feelings about it. I have all these other
sure.
feelings wrapped up in it.
You
You know
worked
what I
on
mean?
it.
Like some of them that I'm explaining to you right now, you know. So, and I don't really go, I don't go over the stuff and listen to it, you know. I
Yeah.
sometimes like somebody else or I hear it somewhere else and like, I don't remember. Like, well, I don't even remember playing this. Like some of the stuff, I listen back if I like I'm in a bar like this bar Duff's that's like the typo bar in Williamsburg, Brooklyn. And he'll play whole records like Dead Again or whatever. And I hear it and I'm like, wow, this stuff is very impressive. It's still I'm proud of it all, you know.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm thrown like, how did I remember half this shit? You know, I guess my brain was better 3 years ago. Peter was a very complex writer, you
Yeah, man. I mean, you guys have a range of like subject matter in all the records, and
know. Yeah.
what I always appreciated. Even, I mean, even the new stuff, like listening to a lot of it, what
Mm.
you've written. I got to ask about one more record, though. This is a personal question of mine. On Life is Killing Me, who chose to do the cover of Angry Inch?
He did it. He loved the movie. We watched the movie together. I think I
Yeah,
turned it on to him. I turned him on to it. Yeah, see, this movie's hilarious. Hedwig and the
yeah.
Angry
Oh, I
Inch.
love it.
And he loved it so much, he thought it was so funny. He was like, let's do this song, which is, you know, an odd thing to do, but it's like one of my favorite things on that record.
Yeah, it's so good, man. Yeah, I knew about that movie before the record came out, and then I was like, what the fuck? They did a cover of this song? Like, this is great. And me and all my friends, like, yeah, we loved it, man. So such a good cover, funny cover. I I uh I watch that movie at least once a year, and I don't like musicals at all. Like, they're just not my thing. But
I
it's
do.
it toes the line a little bit.
I like Rocky Horror. You know, that's to me is like a modern Rocky Horror. Hedwig, you know.
Yeah,
If the music's good, I like it.
that's fair. I guess maybe like I've just watched bad musicals or something, and it's kind of turned me off from them.
Yeah, well,
It's
don't watch
very
Wicked because
possible.
not one of the songs is memorable.
No.
It's freaking horrible. I mean, you know, The Wizard of Oz is brilliant. Every song is
Uh-huh.
brilliant. You know, you can't, they're iconic. That is the biggest turd, that movie.
Yeah, I haven't watched them, so I'm good on that. Luckily,
Don't.
um,
Think I got through three songs. I was like, this is like no hook. This is terrible.
I don't know. I just been so inundated with like the commercials and like previews and everything that I feel like I've seen the movie that I don't need to watch it.
You don't. Yeah.
All right, one last thing here. I don't want to take up too more of your time. You mentioned this way earlier in the show, so it caught my ear. You mentioned horror movies. I gotta ask, man. Like, what are some of your favorites, man? I'm a huge horror buff myself.
Um, I have so many favorites, dude.
Let's hear
John
them.
Carpenter's The Thing. Um, all the George Romero stuff from the 70s.
Yeah.
Um, what else? What the hell was the one with the cabin? Fuck. Evil Dead, the original
Oh
Evil
yeah.
Dead. We got a lot of them. You know.
Yeah.
Um,
There's.
what else from the Martin? Oh, I love the Alien stuff. The whole
Man.
series of the Alien series, which I consider horror sci-fi.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I said George Romero. I like a lot of the insane movies from the 70s. I've ever seen like Mother's Day. Not a lot of people see Mother's Day. It's
I've seen
hugely
Mother's Day.
politically incorrect, like really brutal
It's a
movie.
rough
It's one of my
watch.
favorites. That's one of my favorites of all time. You know, the director apologized for making the movie recently.
Really?
Like
Damn.
10 years ago or whatever, he made a public apology. I saw that. As when you still see double features in the 70s. We went to see Day of the Dead. George
Ooh.
Romero's Day of the Dead, the third one.
Yeah.
And it was a double feature, and that was the surprise movie, midnight double feature. So that came on first, Mother's Day. And we were like, what the? And then Day of the Dead, which is like 4 hours of her grueling,
Oh my
great.
goodness.
you know,
Yeah.
you don't get shit like that anymore. You really don't.
Yeah, it's few and far between, man. Like shocking stuff, I mean the
Yeah.
most we have now is like Terrifier, but that's like more gore
I love the last
focused.
Terrifier with the Santa Claus with the
Yeah.
they blows the kids up that are going to see. Said it was insane. Nothing was sacred in that movie. Me and my daughter went to see it. My youngest,
Oh,
she's
that's
23.
amazing.
She's 23, and we were just like the first 10 minutes of the movie was like he whatever
Chopping up
saws in
kids.
half the entire family on Christmas Eve. Great,
Yeah.
great
Oh, I
stuff.
love them.
Great stuff.
Yeah,
Sometimes
so
they make a good one once in a while. I like Babadook. There's
yeah.
movies, there's some modern ones that are really good.
Yeah, that's gonna be my next ask is like, is there anything current that you've been into?
That's
'Cause
the last one I saw. Like today, that's the last one I saw was that Terrifier
yeah,
2, I think it was. It was 2 or 3. The last
three.
one that came.
Yeah.
Three.
Yeah.
And I hadn't seen 1 or 2. I went back and saw those after, but the third 3 is the best one. Okay.
Yeah, three, I agree. Three is the best one. Two has probably like the gnarliest kill,
Yeah, yeah,
with the salt and bleach and everything. Like that's
yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
fuck, man. Brutal. Absolutely brutal. I I I buy like these trading cards from like this horror website that like sells them occasionally. They're like full boxes, and I bought
Uh-huh.
the Terrifier set, and I got super lucky, man. It came with an autographed card, and my autographed card was Damien Leone, and I was like, holy shit, like it's so rad.
Cool.
So I framed everything up. Like I got an Evil Dead one and Sleepaway Camp 1 and 2 that like they're all
Mhm.
framed, just like these goofy like 80s trading cards. I love it.
Evil Dead is one of my favorite, and that was made by college students. So like,
I
I
got
think
I
they
got
had like
Ash.
$50,000 budget or some shit. Great.
Yeah, I dress up as Ash like almost every Halloween, man. I made like an epic chainsaw that like goes on my fucking hand and everything. It weighs like 30 pounds. I love it though. Kenny, man, dude, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you talking with me about everything, man. I'm looking forward to the rest of the record. You said April 1st it comes out?
April Fool's Day.
Okay. So what's the best way that people watching and listening can like support you guys as a band to like get the record and everything and follow you guys and all that stuff on social media?
Oh yeah, you could come to our Instagram. We have an Instagram, Sun Don't Shine. I think it's Sun Don't Shine Band on Instagram and also on Facebook. So you can get
Okay.
all the latest news of the band. Or you can come to my site, which is Kenny Hickey official on Instagram and just Kenny Hickey on Facebook. I always have everything. I'm updating everything, always pumping everything.
Awesome.
And it'll be on all platforms. It'll be released on all streaming platforms. And also, if you go to Corpse Paint Records on Instagram or Facebook, you can order the album direct from them or some merchandise, all merchandise. And Revolve is going to be releasing this record and pushing it too. So
Awesome. That stuff will all be linked. So everybody listening, go support it. Go check it out. Kenny, again, man, thank you so much, man. I seriously
thank
appreciate
you.
it, man. It was awesome talking to you.
It was great. Thanks, bro.